Alberta averages 800 contacts with power lines per year. That's more than 2 every day. That's unacceptable. The majority of contacts with underground lines occur in urban centers, while the majority of overhead contacts take place in rural areas. The shocking truth of the matter is that 100% of incidents were avoidable. Here's what you need to know to avoid a power line contact. The Alberta Occupational Health and Safety Code requires that the owner of the utilities be notified and that locations of buried utilities be marked before a ground disturbance begins. Before you break ground with a shovel or an excavator, it's imperative to secure an underground power line locate. The first step in getting a locate is to contact Alberta One Call by visiting clickbeforeyoudig.com. This website allows you to submit a locate request free of charge. It's important to note that a minimum of 3 full working days' notice is required for Alberta One Call to respond to your request. Since locate completion times can vary, it's recommended to submit your request even earlier than 3 days when possible. Once your request has been submitted and processed by Alberta One Call, you will receive a locate slip. A locate slip will typically include the following information: an explanation of the markings on the ground, a drawing of buried-in lines in conflict with the dig area, and instructions on how to dig safely. It is important to compare the information on your locate slip to the actual markings on the worksite to ensure a match. If there are any discrepancies, contact Alberta One Call to request a new locate. When it comes time to break ground, be aware that red-colored locate flags or painted chevrons indicate underground electrical lines. The correct way to safely expose underground power lines is to use a dig-by-hand or hydrovac method within 1 meter on either side of the locate flag or painted chevron. The safe distances that people or equipment should stay away from exposed energized power lines or utility infrastructure are defined as the limits of approach, or minimum approach distances. When work is planned near underground or overhead, it's crucial to consider the safe limits of approach that must be maintained. Most people are aware of the dangers of working near overhead power lines. What many don't realize is that the electrical current from a power line can arc to nearby equipment that isn't physically touching the line in certain conditions, like wet or humid weather, for example. The higher the voltage, the further it can arc. Since there is no way of knowing the voltage of a power line by sight alone, a good rule of thumb is to keep all people and equipment a minimum of 7 meters away from an overhead power line of unknown voltage. The safest way to ensure equipment maintains a 7-meter distance from an overhead power line is to use a spotter. Here are tips for spotting safely on the work site. As a spotter, you should always review hand signals with the operator. Focus on the task at hand. Make eye contact with the operator directly or through mirrors if passing behind a vehicle or piece of equipment. And contact your local utility company if the equipment must work closer than 7 meters to an overhead power line. For more information on power line safety, visit where'stheline.ca.